Hello my beautiful Hammerhead and welcome back to another Black Library review. Today we have Shade of Khaine, written by Dicken. This is the first Melanath Witchblade novel and I'm so incredibly happy with this one. Sadly, again, it took me a while to finish this, but it was a joy from beginning till end. Before I begin talking about the book a little bit, if you have read the Gotrek and Melanath adventures before this one, it will help a little bit, but you don't really need it because it just builds on them, but it doesn't rely on them, if that makes sense. What I mean is there are some hints to the stories back then, or oh, I learned that from Gotrek, or something that happened there taught me this, and so on. Those are nice tidbits, but again, you don't really need to know what exactly happened back then. And also the end of, what was it, Soul Slayer? I don't want to spoil you with that one if you don't know what happened there. The important part here is, in this version of the book, in the introduction, it's not really a chapter, it's just 4 pages of Dicken talking a little bit about Melanath, and he became one of my favorite authors with this one. And the introduction really helped, because what he did was just basically go back, read everything where she was where she was tangentially mentioned or anything. And I mean everything, not just the Black Library novels. He was on wiki pages, he was on Reddit, and all the stuff you can do to gather information. And even he said, okay, yeah, there were some inconsistencies in here and there, but now we can make it something tangible, something that is a real part of the mortal realms. And not just a side character that is really fun, she's awesome, and yeah. So, the thing now is, this is, as you might have guessed, this is a Melanath standalone novel, so Gotrek isn't there. Again, I don't want to spoil the ending of Soul Slayer. Again, there is another point before I go into this book, is what this book also made me want to do is go back to every Gotrek novel, not only the Old World, because I still have to read those. I only have read the first one as of right now. But also the AOS ones, because they're just so funny. They're just so good. And I love them so much. So, yeah. And also I want a second book. So, Mr. Dicken, if you see this, please, a second one. Make it happen. Make it possible. I don't know what you have to do, but please do it. So, Melanath Witchblade, one of my favorite characters since day one when she was introduced. And I remember that day vividly. Even though I have a tiny little bit of aphantasia, but I don't think that hampers my ability to remember things. I don't know how this works. But I was studying for my exams, and I was like, there is an audio drama from Gotrek in Age of Sigmar. Let's listen to that one while studying. Yeah, that was definitely a good idea. But Melanath appeared and I was like, Dark Elf Assassin, let's go. The reception was a little bit mixed on the forums that I frequented back then, but it didn't change my mind. I really, really liked her. For some people, she was just a cheap knockoff of Miles Darkblade. because she also has a trinket that she talks to, which is the locket. It's not really a locket, it's more of a gem filled with the soul of her former mistress that she talks to, and they keep talking to each other. And yeah, she backstabs people and so on. That's dark elf stuff. Come on, be real. She's a dark elf assassin. She has to be edgy. She has to be, well, killy and sharp and smart. And yeah, all elves are smart and witty and so on. Oh, well, not all elves, but they're usually very smart, because elves are always depicted as they're good in everything. Just look at the Vanari Blade Lords when they had the ability to hit everything automatically. No dice roll, just hit. You're better than a god. Even Nagash has to hit, or I don't know, Alariel has to hit, even though she's also an elf goddess. But yeah, Vanari Blade Lords, ultimate. But yeah, I digress. I'm so sorry. I'm just so happy about this book. I want to talk more elves now. So, this novel is... I didn't want to use this, but let's just say it's a breakup novel. And how to heal from a breakup. It's not, by the way. It's just me making fun of it a little bit. Because at first it really felt like it, as she was really broken from the thought that Gotrek just left her. And she was also like, I can do things without Gotrek. I don't need him. I don't need that ugly bastard. And oh, this dwarf doesn't remind me of him, even though they share the same nose. And it is so good. I really, really loved that, because it again just shows how much they came together as a duo, even after what was the name of the Sigmarite priest? That doesn't matter. I will reread every Gotrek story again and review them. After Soulslayer, I haven't read those. I also have to do that. But yeah, it's just so good. She even has discussions with other daughters of Khaines later in the book. And when she explains, yeah, it's a dwarf. A what? Yeah, that's another word for Duardin, and so on. Beautiful. But yeah, it starts in Chamon, and she basically looks for work and how to get back to Ulgu, because she is on her way back to her roots, back to Nightcliff, the city she grew up in, and was trained as a Calibron assassin. But, oh yeah, before we start there, is a backstory of her, which I really, really enjoyed, because it starts with her in a fighting pit that she's training with another of her sisters, which she has a rivalry with, which is awesome. I really enjoyed that one as well. And after a while, it was like, wait, something is wrong here. And as you go into it, again, you see that it's a backstory. It's what happened way, way back then, even way before she joined the Order of Azir, and where she killed her mistress. I loved that, and how others felt betrayed by that. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, Chamon, she's looking for work. She joins a group of... It wasn't really mercenaries. It was a trade caravan that employed mercenaries. And of course, there are frictions in between those, because the trade merchant is a Duardin, has an employee, employs, oh man, what is wrong with me today? Employs a couple of mercenaries from the cities of Sigmar, has an ogre with him, and so on. And the ogre's the best. I love him so much. His name is Splendid, and he's definitely one of the more intelligent ogres. One of the quotes that I can give you is, why would I follow the... wait, what was it? Was it just Gorka Morka that wants to eat the world? Yeah, it doesn't matter. The god who wants to devour all. Why do I want to follow that god? Doesn't that mean he wants to eat me? I'm living in this, which was basically the Star-Lord moment in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. I'm one of the idiots that lives in this universe. And his name is Splendid. I can't remember if I mentioned it. I'm just so happy with him. And at one point, I was just waiting for a joke to be made. No, rather, in my mind, it was always like, okay, we just traded Gotrek for another brute. This one is just bigger. And at one point, the mistress is just telling her, oh, that's awesome. You just traded Gotrek for another big brute. you handed yourself another Gotrek. Beautiful, amazing. And yeah, at some point they reach Ulgu, and every time we come to a new realm, it's beautiful for me. Because as of late, with Age of Sigmar novels, we get to learn more about the realms themselves, which I love so much. We since the latest edition, yeah, since 4th edition, it's really always in the novels, the first parts are, this is the realm, this is what makes it unique, and then we can build up on that. In this one, Ulgu, we know the trickster realm, everything is shadow, everything is dark and gloomy, everything is foggy. It's not really Silent Hill, but there is fog everywhere, blah blah blah. What this part of Ulgu makes it so special is, and I take it from the introduction chapter of the book, it's basically like sand dunes and wind and everything, because stuff vanishes, something new appears, because it just gets shifted all the time. And it's not sand, obviously, it's shadows, and the realm just sucks it back and so on. And the more attention you give to something, the more tangible it is. These are just my words now. So let's just say the matriarch's tower and so on, it is the center of the city, so it just stands there. Everyone knows what it is, everyone pays attention to it. But this is the Calibron city. This is basically just, yeah, assassins are being trained there. So don't pay attention to that. And it vanishes. It's beautiful. Really, really love it. So we get to the city. We, of course, have Splendid with us. And since Meluneth has changed a lot, since she murdered her mistress, ran away from Nightcliff, was a member of the Order of Azir, was an adventurer besides Godrek, now comes back, she changed a lot. And by changed a lot, that is also, it's a little bit sugar-coated, but it serves the purpose for now. To come back to people who know you from back then, and how she has to deal with those people again, how she has to explain stuff and things, what she have done, is amazing. And how she obviously comes back into old patterns of behavior when she meets someone. Also, nice detail. I really, really like that one, as this is something we do. When we see someone from our past, we immediately fall back into those same behaviors and patterns. So, nice. Really, really nice. Of course, we get to meet the sister she had a rivalry with, and how they talk to each other, how she felt betrayed and so on. And the more we get into the story, we see Malineth was right in doing this. Of course, we know this is not a secret. She was right in doing this, but everyone in this city doesn't know. Well, some people know, but those people don't really talk about that one because they fear the repercussions of talking about it. One of which is Duardin, a Caradron that has been exiled from his people, who's basically just one of the most skilled trap workers. No, the most skilled trap maker in the city. And so yeah, he knows almost every trap that is inside the city, especially the ones for the higher up matriarchs and gladiatrixes. Really well written. So we have our group of, well, Malineth, we have her sister, we have Splendid the Ogre, and the exiled Caradron, which I forgot his name. Doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, and we see a necromancer who's reviving the bones of her sisters. And the necromancer is like, I'm not one of those regular necromancers. I take care of my apparitions. Apparitions? Of my skeletons. I love my skeletons. Just look at them. I carve their bones with my own hands and everything. It's amazing. And it turns out that she supplied Malineth with poisons, with other trinkets and so on. Also continues to do that as well, even though she really does not want it, as there are also frictions here and there between them. And there are hints throughout the story and as what the real threat of the story is, of the city. I also really enjoyed those because this it is that I'm so deep in the Age of Sigmar lore that I immediately knew what's up. In the city guard, in the human part of the city guard, there are two people, twins. They appeared and I immediately knew that's that. And it was such a small hint that I can really appreciate how much Mr. Evan Dicken just delved into the Age of Sigmar lore, how much he appreciates and builds on it. And I was like, holy damn, I love this so much. I don't have the words on how much I enjoy such small hints that will probably fly over the heads of the majority of people because they just read AOS books for fun. It's maybe their first novel, maybe they don't know the factions as well. But for die-hard fans like me for the Age of Sigmar lore, it was just like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I really do not want to spoil what the real threat to the city is. Not now, I will talk about it at the end of the video. But how everything just builds on top of each other, again, it's just really, really nice. We get to see how her sister, even though at first they fought, of course, and then they work together, how they start to trust each other again, how she has to explain why she killed her mistress or their mistress and what happened after that. Why did the sister think that Malineth betrayed the coven and then ran away? There are so many beautiful things in here. And I also really, really love that... Wait, how long am I recording? 20 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna cut this short a little bit. I'm so sorry. Again, this is just how much I love this book. I really want to keep talking about this one. Maybe... no. Thought for another day. What I also really love is how Evan Dicken just incorporated Morathi Khaine into this book. Because Melanath, again, she wasn't really part of the Daughters of Khaine for a long, long time, as she was in the Order of Vizier, where she was basically a free agent, had nothing to do with her sisters, no matter which coven, maybe just tangentially. They met, nodded, and then went on their ways. And then again with Gotrek, she didn't have any contact to basically anyone else. And she, obviously, she heard that Morathi Khaine proclaimed herself as Khaine Reborn, that she's the new goddess. So she comes into Nightcliff and everything is just like, huh, the statues of Khaine really changed in the last couple of years. But she doesn't really want to delve too much into it. She doesn't want to think so much about it. And even though the adversaries in the book are just like, Khaine is dead, Khaine has been dead for a long, long time, and you do this for nothing. And Melanath is just like, I don't care if you think Khaine is dead. Khaine is alive in me, and I will kill in his name, and I will murder you and sacrifice you in his name. Which was so badass. I really loved that. She is an evil character. It's just her. It's just that over the course of her whole story, her moral compass just shifted. And that is what I really, really enjoy with this one. And it really, really made me want to build my Daughters of Khaine army again, even though I sold everything. But no, I'm staying strong. I just have her model, even though I'm a little bit... Oh, I completely forgot to show you this. Yeah, this is the book. Even though I was really hoping for this posture of the model and not the one we got, because we got this. And I'm not the biggest fan of this model, especially her face. What happened? This is not going to be a rant about the model, because most of the model I really like. It's just the pose and the face could have been better. But yeah, that's just me. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, thank you so much for watching. Stay fantastic, stay hydrated. And now I will talk a little bit more about spoilers in here. So, just wait a moment. Okay, that should be enough. Spoiler territory. So, again, we know that Melanath was right in killing her mistress, even though the discussions between her and her mistress over all the years, it was just like, yeah, her mistress doesn't want to talk about it. She willfully ignores things that Melanath tells her, and or she can't remember. Yeah, that's the excuse of the mistress. And we get to learn that this is by design, not by her mistress. It was the other party that was basically tricking her and was putting her under a spell, and so many things, so many obfuscations and so on. Because it's, of course, Slaanesh that is going against the Hedonites of Slaanesh that are going against the Daughters of Khaine. And again, I mentioned the twins, and again, it was just a tiny little bit of description about them. I was like, yep, it's Slaanesh. Let's go. Let's murder those bastards and get back to the Order of Vizier. Let's go back to Splendid, because they parted a little bit for the story because of reasons. Splendid had just so much fun in the city, and he got a new employer and so on. And she was like, I have to take care a little bit of some private stuff. And all the layers that the Hedonites of Slaanesh just built in the city on how to, overthrow the old government. Also really well written, really enjoyed that. Also a really well made explanation on why they were not able to to end the spells and everything they started so many years ago, because Melaneth killed the mistress. And the mistress and Melaneth were the ones missing to finish the spell as the blood sacrifice for Slaanesh. And so the hunt began. Again, really well made, very nice explanation. There are also some shenanigans with the locket, of course, of the mistress, which I also really enjoyed. And I was really, really happy that Melaneth is not a Mary Sue, as it was really, really easy to have a hardcore, badass dark elf assassin to be like, I'm the sneakiest, I'm the deadliest, my poisons are the best, my dagger throws are gonna pierce your heart from 1,000 miles away. It would have been so easy, but here again, I just love that she struggles. We get to know her from different perspectives. We get to know her from her past. We get to know her, how she changes in this story. And again, I'm just so incredibly happy with this one. This is going to be one of my top novels right now with Age of Sigmar. It is definitely not one book that I can recommend for newcomers. Sadly, really, really sadly. Again, you don't need the Gotrek novels first before this one. It helps, but there are a lot of things that will maybe go a little bit over the heads of newcomers. Maybe I'm a little bit protective of the newcomers. Maybe they can just go in there and say, yep, awesome novel, I understood everything. Because it's really getting a little bit difficult for me to know how newcomers will respond to this book. With other novels, it's far easier for me to say, yeah, this one is for newcomers. Even the Indrasta novel from written by Noah von Nguyen is an entry book, also really well written. Speaking of Noah von Nguyen, God Eater's Son is very well written. Godsbane is incredibly dense, but also a good book for beginners, because there is just so much explanation in that one. What happened, my love? The cat just ran here, stopped, looked at me, and now she walks away. But yeah, I forgot to give it a rating in the other one. I don't have the time to edit this. I'm really, really sorry. But I give this 9 out of 10 successful stealth kills. It's really amazing. I don't know why it's not a 10 out of 10. I must admit it. I might even give it a 10 out of 10. I'm probably not giving it a 10 because I think I finished it just before pressing record. Like always, like with every Black Library review I do. Maybe I'm a little bit biased and I'm trying to... what's the word? I'm not trying to oversell it. I'm trying to be a little bit realistic on how will I think about this in a week? How will I think about this in a month? Will my mind change about this one? Even though I'm pretty sure that it won't, because it's similar to Court of the Blind King was the Idoneth novel, I believe, which is also stuck in my mind, and this has the potential, or is one of those books that will stick in my head for a long, long time. And I really, really love that one. But yeah, I want to be cautious not to give it a higher rating. Again, my gut feeling tells me it's a 10 out of 10, but I will be a little bit cautious and say it's 9. I hope that makes sense. Even then, if you know a little bit of Age of Sigmar lore, if you want to know a little bit more about Ulgu, if you want to know more about not only Melaneth Witchblade as a character, but about the Daughters of Khaine, Calibron Cult, the Assassins, and how to deal with a breakup. It's awesome. Again, really recommend it. Thank you, Mr. Evan Dicken, for writing this. Please, second one. I'm waiting for it. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay fantastic. Do all the YouTube stuff, or we may never see each other again. And until next time. Bye. Bye. Stay hydrated. Bye.